hear you sing that song, I just go there, you know? I just think, yeah, like it's possible, and I lose myself in it. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I cannot tell you just how much it means to me. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know. So, Albany Peace Project 2017, year 4. Wow. It's been a ride, I gotta tell you. Anybody who knows me knows that I've spent time saying, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I've sat in the trenches and I say to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And what I've learned over the years is that there's one thing I've learned. This is just what I've learned. I've learned that I can't stop. I literally can't stop. I literally can't stop talking about this amazing technology. This amazing technology that is so profound and so powerful that it can make dramatic impacts across industries, across sectors of society. I mean, if I were to come up to you and tell you about this incredibly powerful technology that had the ability to do all these divergent things like, I don't know, reduce violence or lower blood pressure or maybe even increase academic grades, you'd say, wow, that's an amazing technology. It can do all that? And I'd say, yeah, and not only that, but it does all these amazing other things as well. In fact, it could do things like reduce an economic drain on society from, say, impulsive behavior. And we could dramatically reduce rampant substance abuse. We could dramatically reduce teenage incarcerations, things like teenage pregnancies, all those things that could be dramatically changed if this message got out into the society and community. And I would say, and you know what? This technology doesn't end there. You know what? If it goes into the business sector, you know what it does there? It reduces employee turnover. It reduces employee accidents. It reduces absenteeism and increases job satisfaction. Like, I'm running out of fingers, okay? and not only that, this same technology that when business leaders take it into the boardrooms, it actually enables them to open their heart and become compassionate and be inclusive in their strategic business planning. I mean, that kind of technology. And I'm going to stop there because I could easily borrow a few people to have more fingers. But I'll just stop there. And that's why I can't stop. This amazing technology is out there, and yet we are underutilizing it. We're not using it. And the tragedy is that it's literally underneath our nose. It's literally right here, right? But our society is so outwardly focused. We're constantly focusing outside of ourselves. I often say, you can't even stand in line at a bank right now without having a screen input information into your nervous system, whether you want it or not, right? We have to metabolize all this information. I had this girlfriend of mine call me the other day, and she said, Bethany, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I'm at the doctor's office, and the screen is so loud above me, I can't hear you. And she said, now that I think about it, I was just at Barnes & Noble, and the rap music was so loud, I couldn't read. And she says, and before that, I was putting gas in my car, and at the pump, there was gas station news on it. Right? Gas station TV, exactly. Exactly, right? So do you see what's going on here? That we're all constantly taking all this stuff outside, and we're completely ignoring what's going on in here. And it's so tragic. You know, we talk about, say, tragic human problems that happen in the world, like famine and lack of water and all that. I really feel like one of the biggest human tragedies is the fact that we are underutilizing our own potential, our own heart. It's literally underneath our nose. And the research shows that when we take our mind and anchor it into the heart, amazing things happen. We go into this gorgeous place that researchers refer to as coherence. And the research tells us that when we do that, we make better decisions, we perform more optimally, we're happier, and we're more present, and we make good decisions. We make good decisions. And so the Albany Peace Project, what we're wanting to do is how much can we get this amazing free technology out into society, right? What can we do? How do we get this out? And so that's the plan. That's what we're doing. You can tell that we're working all around town on it. And what we found is that when people do participate in the Albany Peace Project, what happens is they, what I'm referring to is awaken the hero within. We've been doing this for a few years now, and we hear about how it changes people's lives. I had this one psychologist from one of the elementary schools, and she said to me, Bethany, the Albany Peace Project, and this is a woman that deals with kids every day, living in violence and living with food insecurity and living with all sorts of challenges. And she said, the Albany Peace Project changed my whole relationship with the city of Albany, as she helps these kids every day. We're talking in Schenectady about using these types of skills with restorative justice, right? So that when people look at the person that they victimized, or when they're sitting with that person and they're having that dialogue, and they're, and that, what would it be if we kind of did an audio download, where that child or that person would be able to just sit there and think and open their heart and think about sending peaceful intentions to maybe someone that they've harmed. How it costs nothing, and it can change us so profoundly, so important. One of the persons that's influenced me a little bit is Dr. David Bohm, the theoretical physicist in the 20th century, one of the most profound, prominent thinkers. And he talked about how deep inside each of us, how we're all connected, and that when we go deep inside of ourselves and go deep into our being, we actually kind of create a bridge or a nexus to every other human being. And he talks about how if we were to all kind of go inside of ourselves and use this bridge to connect to others, he said if there were a group of people that worked from that orientation, that what they would do would be remarkable. Remarkable. And he said what they would do would stand out from the crowd. And so that's what we're all trying to do here. We're all just trying to remember who we really are. We're all just remembering that we're all connected. And when we do that, we awaken something within us. And we start to, when we honor the dignity and integrity and nobility of other people, we feel it ourselves. And we remember the grand journey that we're all on. The Institute of HeartMath in this past year has done, they're moving their work in an amazing way. They've done a lot on personal coherence, but now they're moving into social coherence. And let me just tell you a little bit about some of their research about how when one person takes charge of their own kind of portion of the field, that they can make an impact. I was on Gary Goldberg's show yesterday, and Gary said to me something like, I take full responsibility for my portion. I live on this earth, and I take full responsibility for what's going on inside of me and how I can contribute to the earth. And I thought, oh my goodness, Gary, if everybody felt that way, that's what we're trying to do with the Albany Peace Project. And so this idea of taking full responsibility, and let me tell you about this research from the Institute of HeartMath that tells you that when we do that, we can have an impact on the people around us. There was, what they've done is imagine 4 people sitting around a card table, right? So card table, 4 people, everybody's got heart monitors on. 3 of them are in cahoots, and they're cued when to move their bodies into coherence. And so 3 of them are cued, they move their bodies into coherence, and the 4th person passively goes along for the ride. Isn't that amazing, right? So 3 people trained, they hold the space, and the other one kind of comes along. And you know what? They repeated this 10 times. And every single time, the skilled people invited and passively pulled along the 4th person into a coherent space. And this is the way, this is where we're going. Google, they don't do meetings right now unless they start with 5 minutes of mindful breathing. Anytime I do a conference call with the Institute of HeartMath, 5-minute heart lock-in. We do a 5-minute heart lock-in, and communication goes so much better. This is the way. This is where we're going. As a society, we've got to start remembering this impact that we have on each other. And if each one of us take full responsibility for our space, how we can positively influence other people. It's that simple, and it costs nothing. So, I'm so grateful that you're all here today, because the more people who start tripping into this space, the more we'll be able to invite other people along. And the amazing thing is that this past year, I was so fortunate to be able to go to 3 of Dr. Joe Dispenza's seminars. And you're in a room of hundreds of people. The first one, there was 300 people. The next one, there was almost 600 people. And the next one, I think, was about 450 people. And when you sit in a room with that many people, and everybody goes into coherence, you go up, right? And there were times that I left some of those meditations, and all I felt was like this silkiness all around me. It was like if you imagine a whole group of people just willing to let go of their smaller selves, and allow their spirit to emerge and come up like it's kind of like a buoy that's been held underneath the water, and when you let go of the resistance, well-being flies up, and you know it was there all along. So just one other final thing I want to say, and I mentioned this last year too, because it's one of the things that guides me, is when you hear the near-death research and you hear about people who transition, what happens? They take their last breath, and what happens? They move into a space, and give me some examples of the space that they talk about. What do they say? People transition, what? Light. Right. What else?
Love.
Peace, love, right? Oneness, right? That's another thing, right? So just think about it, and I always say this, just to remember this, that the punchline to your life, that no matter what happens in your life, the punchline is, you're going to take your last breath, and you're just going to transition into who you really are, who we all are right now. And my question is, why wait, right? My experience with coherence is that the more we train into those buoyant feelings, we can follow them literally kind of right up to heaven. And the more you follow those good feelings, you follow them up, and you realize it's there now. That portion of your spirit is alive and buoyant and well now. There's a portion of you that fire can't burn and water can't get wet. And anyone who comes back from that space, they always say it was like this amazing love. It's ineffable. They always struggle. They can never describe it. They can never describe how amazing this space is. That's inside each and every one of you. And the gateway to it is your heart. It's right there. And it's kind of like training to be an athlete or a musician, and the more you train, the more like suddenly you wake up and you realize that that's who you really are. And so just remember, I'm asking you to commit for 2 weeks to the Peace Project, and 2 weeks every day, and remember that we're all going to be remembering who we really are, and you're going to be remembering it with hundreds of other people. And so when you sit down to meditate, don't feel like you're doing it alone. Remember that there's other people with you on this journey, and together we're lifting. And the more we can lift, the more we can hold it there, the more we can hold the space and invite other people up. All right? So thank you all so much for your participation. Thank you for your open hearts. And let's do this. Let's give the world something to talk about. All right? Thanks. I just want people to know there's a couple things you need to know about this research. People say, well, I'm a meditator, and that counts. And it counts. It does count a little bit. It does count. What the research shows, though, is that it's not just enough for us to become coherent. It's this idea that we need to vote. We need to send an intention into the field. Okay? So someone emailed me around the election, and they said, how are you healing after the election? And I thought, for me, it was a really curious question. Because I really feel like every day is election day. Every day we are voting. We are sending intentions into the field. And as Director of Research at the Institute of Heart Math, Dr. Roland McCrady says, what are you feeding the field today? What are you feeding the field? So every day during the election, I was just asking for the highest and best, the highest and best, the highest and best, the highest and best. And so to me, after the election, I felt very much at peace with it. I know it sounds horrible, but to a lot of people. But the idea is that's what we're talking about when you take care of your portion of the field. And so, when I do the meditation in a little bit, what I want you to do is feel how different you feel when you start going into this place yourself and you're sending a vote and you're honoring the dignity and integrity and nobility of others. And when we do that, our shoulders go back and our heads go up, and we feel our own nobility, dignity, and integrity. And so understand that that's what, as we're doing this, sometimes it's like, oh, well, I don't, why should I meditate for a city I don't live in or whatever? But really, what we recognize, and that's what people are experiencing, and that's why I called it awakening the hero within. Because there's a switch that gets flipped within us, and all of a sudden, we have this nobility. And you can feel it, and you can sense it, and you live it. And so I'm just going to strongly encourage you to encourage other people to just try it. Just try sending intentions to complete strangers. Be your brother's keeper. And oh my goodness, awaken something so deep and so profound and so magnanimous and so glorious and so incredible within you. And you will have a spring in your step, and you will have energy for the day, and you will remember that this is a grand journey that we are all on, and we need each other. So, thank you.